Dehya, what is she good at? Existing. Now, you might have heard, Dehya, not the best character. Hear me out before you get mad because you want to pull Dehya. Go ahead, pull Dehya. If you like her, pull her. Nothing's stopping you. But I want to highlight the problem that Genshin's making here. As you might have known, if you know, Dehya's stats aren't the best. Her kit looks cool, her animations look cool, but her damage output, the thing that she's meant to do, isn't so great. So what is she good at? Nothing. She's below average in everything. Now, why is she so bad? Let's get to that first. Then I'll explain why this is a problem. And even though Genshin is a single player game that, is relatively easy depending on how you view it and how far you are into the game. Obviously, the more you play, the easier it gets. I'll explain why Genshin making characters purposely bad is a problem, even though it's a single player game. And I'll also explain why making them bad now and then buffing them later is also a problem. So her first big flaw is her burst. Number one, it does absolutely zero damage. It's terrible. It's 4 seconds long, its scalings are terrible, and because Dehya is Pyro, you expect her to work with Xingqiu, Yuan, maybe Beidou to some extent for Overload, but no, because it's burst damage. So how are you going to get Hydro application for your Pyro reactions, your Vape? The thing that carries Pyro. In Vape teams, Hutao's first 100 Elemental Mastery is more important than crit. That's how important reactions are in the game. But Dehya can't really proc those reactions because she doesn't have Xingqiu Yuan for consistent Hydro application. Now she can work with Mona because Mona has her skill and burst, which gives you great damage, but it's still not that great because you don't have consistent Hydro application. And another thing, her burst state is only 4 seconds long. It would be good if she did a lot of damage within those 4 seconds within her state of bursting, but she doesn't. Would you combine her animation time, which is also very long, your DPS isn't that great. For example, Zhongli. His burst can deal a lot of damage, but you have to make it so it does a lot of damage to make up for the burst animation that costs seconds. Traditional Vape team. Or you could go mono pyro with Xiangling, but why use Dehya when you can use National instead? But those teams are about as good as Xinyan. You can replace Dehya with Xinyan and you'll do pretty well. Dehya is pretty much at Xinyan level, and we all know how good Xinyan is. Take it from a Xinyan main, triple crowned. Another problem with her burst, she picks up her skill. So how her skill works, she places down a field and it continuously buffs her characters and generates energy. In her burst state, that skill no longer exists. So she doesn't generate energy, and her burst kind of has a hefty energy cost. Not too much, but big enough where ER makes an impact, which is 70 energy cost. And so basically, if she doesn't generate energy for herself, say like Sino, in his burst state, he can skill a lot of times, he generates a lot of energy, right? Well, Dehya is not Sino. Well, how's she gonna generate energy? Pretty much the same way Xiangling, Bennett. And, well, how much energy does Xiangling need? Around 180. Dehya, same thing. So you need more ER, but Dehya can't really afford that. Because if you're putting all your stats into ER, well, she's gonna do less damage, but she doesn't do much damage to begin with. So it's just a lose-lose situation. So what's her best, play style? How should you play her to be very optimal? If you only care about meta, if you want to play hyper, go ahead. Problem is, you're going to be struggling, but you're free to do what you want. Maybe she could be played as a support. Maybe like a pyro applicator with their skill. Yeah, that works, except you have better options like Bennett. Bennett can pretty much do the same thing and is a healer and is a, actual support. Or you have Toma, which is better in everything. You have a shield, so damage mitigation, which is pretty much what Dehya does, except Dehya takes the damage, Toma doesn't, so 1 up for Toma. And he has an off-field pyro application that's consistent with normal attacks, and better than Dehya's. But she can be played as a support carried by everything else. Weapon, Favonius, artifacts, Nasia Millwith, so 20 attack there, Favonius, ER, but that's just coping. That could be said for pretty much any character. They'll just slap a Favonius weapon on and they'll be fine, or Throwing Tails for Catalyst users and they'll be usable. That's the problem. You might be thinking, yeah, maybe this is another Kokomi situation. Don't judge a book by its release. That's not a good mindset to have. Sure, Kokomi Initially, everybody thought she was bad, and as time went on, she became really good. But even if Dehya gets better over time, something happens, supports favor her, maybe like some weird Dendro reaction helps her burning, I don't know, something makes her really good. Well, we haven't found it, so as of now, she's really bad. We shouldn't have to find this crazy tech to make her good. She should just be decent enough to be played on a basic level. Releasing characters that are subpar and then buffing them later increases FOMO, fear of missing out, because you never know if they'll get good or not. And believe it or not, some Genshin players like pulling for meta. Not everything is about play who you like. Some people like strong characters, so that's who they like. It doesn't harm anybody to release a already decent character. It's like with games. Do you want them to release an unfinished game that has a lot of bugs, or do you want them to release a finished game that's polished? Probably the latter. We shouldn't be hoping for something because it's never guaranteed. We don't know if Dehya is going to get buffed later on. That could happen, that cannot. Why not just give us everything at once so we know? We know what we're getting into. We shouldn't be pulling for a dream, for a hope. But overall, Dehya, not so good. Maybe she'll get buffed in the future. Never count on it. That's what's bad about Genshin and I guess gacha games in general. I think personally that's a mistake. They should at least make them decent at first, and then they can buff, sure, but they have to be playable in their initial state. They can't be unplayable. Dehya doesn't deserve this kind of treatment, even though she's on the standard banner. Even Chi-Chi is better than her. She at least heals your team, so if you ever need a lot of healing, Chi-Chi's there for co-op. Dehya provides nothing. Summary, Dehya, bad. Buffing characters later and releasing them in a terrible state, bad. Buffing them later, bad, because it increases FOMO. But that's about it. Hope you liked the video. Just a little rant about Dehya. Alright, I'll see you later.